Do you like pegging? Do you like the way your balls slam into other balls and make these sexy, entrancing sounds that awaken that inner animal within you while people cheer you on? Well, I got good news for you, my friend. Welcome to Peggle. Now before we talk anything and all things Peggle, first we need to do a smidge bit of research on how this magnificent beast came to be. Peggle was not the result of a straightforward development process, it was actually rather chaotic. Instead, it emerged from extensive iteration, balancing skill and chance and a keen understanding of player psychology. In layman's terms, PubCap found a way to activate your neurons in such a way that you won't be able to go back. That's right, baby. Drop the Benjamin, drop the Jewel, and drop the fast food. Peggle is your new addiction and sex will never feel the same again. Speaking of conceiving, Peggle was originally conceived as a pachinko-inspired game and underwent numerous refinements before it became the polished, addictive experience that it is today. Initially, Peggle was a much more chaotic game, closely resembling traditional pachinko where dozens of balls were launched at once, bouncing unpredictably off of pegs. I bet your mom knows a lot about that. However, this early version felt too random. Players had little control over the outcome, much like when I walk into a retro game store with my life savings. To counter this, the team and most notably lead designer Brian, I cannot pronounce his last name, so I'm just gonna call him Brian, and producer, what the fuck are these names? Sukhbir Sidhu. How am I supposed to pronounce that in one take? Anyways, these two made a pivotal decision, shifting from multi-ball mechanics to a single shot system, like your mom. This change fundamentally altered the game, making it more about precision and strategy rather than just pure luck. And by giving adrenaline junkies like you and me a limited number of shots and holding our families at gunpoint, it forces us to think about our next move and our next decision, what we're gonna do, yada yada yada. This decision also laid the foundation for one of Peggle's biggest strengths. I call this Catholic intercourse. Much like Catholics, this game has very little protection, thus it's a loop of aiming, shooting, and watching the results unfold. In early versions, every peg had to be hit to complete a level. This approach was too overwhelming, making progression feel tedious rather than just rewarding. The solution was to introduce a primary objective: orange pegs. Orange pegs became the key targets, reducing clutter and giving players clear goals. Green pegs introduced power-ups, adding an extra layer of strategy which we'll dive deeper into later, and blue pegs served as filler obstacles which helped the game feel a tad bit more dynamic. These refinements made Peggle more approachable while maintaining a level of challenge. Players could experiment with different types of shots, but they always had a clear objective in mind. One of Peggle's greatest strengths is its ability to make every shot feel rewarding. Even when players fail, this wasn't an accident, it was a deliberate design choice influenced by behavioral psychology. And like I said, your brain will challenge itself as it adapts to Peggle, the same way the school board thinks we act whenever a girl's shoulder is slightly out of her shirt by like 2 pixels. Extreme Fever, the flashy celebration when a level is completed. The team exaggerated the victory screen, adding rainbows, fireworks, and Beethoven's Ode to Joy. The result? Well, Sherlock, it clearly fucking worked. It turned a simple win into a euphoric moment, and like I said, again, once more, Peggle is a drug and you just can't get rid of it. It's like when somebody quits RuneScape, you don't just quit RuneScape, you take very long breaks. Every shot in Peggle is unpredictable. Players know where the ball starts, but the final trajectory depends on how it bounces. This element of uncertainty taps into the human necessity that big numbers means big winning. The brain loves surprises, and Peggle capitalized on this, ensuring that no two shots ever felt the same. I'm sorry, I can't. Even when players fail, Peggle makes it feel almost like a success, right? Near misses, lucky bounces, and slow motion shots all contribute to the illusion that victory is just one better shot away, leading to endless replayability. And unlike many games that start with a clear vision, Peggle's core mechanics evolve through trial and error. The team was not afraid to scrap ideas that didn't work. Early prototypes featured peg grinds that were too cluttered, and levels felt messy, and it was hard to track shots. Power-ups were originally tied to specific pegs, yada yada. At one point there was an auto-play mode, but it just has no reason to exist. It removed a lot of player agency and was quickly discarded. Every major change was made to maximize fun, balance challenge, and ensure rewarding moments. Peggle succeeded because it struck a rare balance between accessibility and depth. Also, one thing I forgot to add was that in this prototype screenshot of Peggle, they seem to have a picture of Frylock from the Aqua Teen Hunger Force as a placeholder for whatever reason. Such a beautiful song. Anyways, ignore my name here, I gotta make a new one for this video anyways. Let's see, God hates fat. Gorlock? No. Oh yes, perfect! Type shard. So right out the gate, we are greeted by Bjorn the Unicorn, who basically says, "Hey kid, wanna gamble?" To which you, yes you, proceed to be a good boy or girl. Oh my god, I forgot to be progressive and woke in my videos. Decide, yeah, let's do this. It's peg or get pegged. Anyways, I made it through the first couple of levels while hitting some absolute power shots that ended up in hell, which is the absence of Bjorn the Unicorn. Instead, I'm stuck with some creature that looks like the result of my Skate 3 avatar fornicating with a porcupine, which is sadly not out of the question for him. Oh yeah, one thing I just didn't cover whatsoever was that every Peggle master has different ways of pegging. You see, some prefer angles while others prefer to destroy everything in plain sight. So with Bjorn, you can essentially allow yourself to see where the ball is eventually going to go after you smack a peg, which can be very useful in early game. And by that I mean like the 5 stages you use to do it and then forget he ever existed. Not to mention that when you reach in-game, you develop this spidey sense for pegging. You know what balls are going to smack what, and you know how they're going to smack. This spidey sense isn't always like 1000% guaranteed unless you're a Peggle god like this dude. Sorry diverging a little bit here, but something I'd like to point out is how incredibly and beautifully odd Peggle's art style is. At first glance, this shit looks like something that some kid who learned Java and Photoshop made in one day. And of course, that's not me entirely dogging on the masterclass that is Peggle art, but rather just a comprehensive look at what 9-year-old me first thought when he saw balls on his screen. I was all like, what the fuck, this isn't
Hydro Thunder! Hurricane!
Because nothing beats how extreme
Hydro Thunder!
is. I sleep next to my wife and all I think about is the next time I'm gonna see
Hydro Thunder! Hurricane!
I'm just kidding, we divorced and she took the kids, but she keeps begging me for child support because my daughter is starving to death and all I'm thinking about is
Hydro Thunder!
to all the non-believers who think their Red Dead Redemptions and their Witcher 3s are vastly superior to Peggle, let's look at the Steam reviews for Peggle. Now the reviews for The Witcher 3 and Red Dead Redemption. I'm definitely not biased whatsoever. Anyways, one thing I need to bring up whenever it comes to talking about anything regarding a PopCap game is of course the soundtrack. I have a very hard time believing a soundtrack could be this groovy for a game about pegging. One of the biggest mysteries I have come across regarding the OST for this game, by the way, for those of you who don't know what OST stands for, it's original soundtrack, and I don't know who the hell composed it. I ended up doing some slight research since I wanted to give massive credit to whoever can create a soundtrack this incredibly groovy. The first composer I found was a guy named Guy Whitmore, or Whitemore, I'm not sure how you say that, who helped do the soundtracks for Peggle 2 and the dreaded Peggle Blast. But you see, that's the problem. I still can't find the composer for Peggle 1. So I mastered the art of critical research that 90% of my generation thinks they know how to do but actually have zero clue on how to actually do it. In layman's terms, it's called not clicking on the first link you see, you dipshit. I ended up finding this Reddit page from 8 months ago that supposedly found who composed the soundtrack for Peggle. And by that I mean they took a screenshot of the ending credits for the game and posted it on an external site. Supposedly a company by the name of Somatone Interactive Studio and a single man named Matthew Johnson made the beautiful OST we have today. Once I looked up the name of the studio, I found this link to their SoundCloud out of all things, which showed different titles they have worked on, like Avengers Ultimate Alliance. But other than that, it was really just a bunch of uninteresting mobile games, and I wasn't about to spend the equivalent of a whole playthrough of Katana Zero searching for the long-lost Peggle sound album, since it's probably locked behind John Jacob Jingleheimer, his name was my name too, his computer. I searched up Matthew Johnson's name, and I ended up seeing 2 filler search options that said Matthew Johnson car accident and Matthew Johnson Utah missing, which would really be sad if Bjorn the Unicorn dragged his body to hell and had him listen to that Peggle soundtrack on repeat in a dark room accompanied by Bjorn the Unicorn, but Matthew can only see Bjorn's wide grin. Anyways, I couldn't find any pictures of this dude except this one article talking about Juicy UI and how he was apparently the lead game designer despite the wiki for Peggle stating otherwise. Also, one thing I want to add is that 1. I've been playing the Peggle soundtrack in the background this entire time. 2. If you aren't throwing that ass back by now, then we didn't have a talk with your birth givers and / or your guardian. 3. I totally forgot I was supposed to go over the gameplay and not act like an autistic child over the perfection that is the Peggle OST, even though I have every right to since it takes a certain level of neurodivergency to finish all the master levels. Anyways, after the gerbil dude gets done having his way with you, Cat Tut kidnaps you and takes you to the set of the Prince of Egypt. Except all the songs are replaced with music that sounds like the instrumental opening to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Now this is a story.
Cat Tut might have one of the most useless abilities in my opinion. And that's not to say that it's like useless, but it's useless. You see, in the scale of a game like Peggle, you typically have a usage for pretty much every ability. However, it's kind of like ranking the Batman Arkham series. Sure, Arkham Asylum is good, but it'll never be as good as City. Or for some of the people who are really old, it's like watching The Matrix 2 and then going to watch The Matrix 3. Both are great movies, but one is just simply better than the other. Oh yeah, back to Cat Tut. This dude's whole ability is to add slopes on the side of shoots and try to squeeze you a free ball as best he can. And the reason I say this is sort of useless is that no Peggle player who has an understanding of the game's physics will be needing this. If you are skilled enough, you'll be smacking pegs left and right with good enough angling and ultimately kill the need for Cat Tut as a whole. Another reason I find him to be completely pointless as an ability is that if you're really good at timing things, you can just time your shot to potentially reach the shoot at the end of your run. Either way, I don't have too much to add about Cat Tut besides the fact that he's useless and despite his existence. Quoting BoJack Horseman, I know it's not the woke, intersexually progressive thing to say, but I'm the victim of Cat Tut's shitty actions. To summarize the rest of the abilities, the alien causes explosions, the crab causes flippers, which give me flashbacks to Sonic Spinball, the fire does the same thing as the alien, but she targets all orange pegs, the rabbit allows you to follow in your father's footsteps and gamble your balls away, the dragon dude shoots a massive fireball, and the owl gives you Zen, which is basically, honestly, it's just aimbot. Out of all of these, the most useful ones in my opinion were of course Zen, fireball, explosion, and yeah, that's about it to be honest. I didn't really find much of a wow factor when using the multi-ball skill, rabbit, or the sunflower, as I found using the explosion better. All this since it taps into the deepest part of my brain that wanted to give my screen a vasectomy. One thing I really wanted to cover was how eerily nostalgic these backgrounds are. The reason I say it's eerie is just because it's, I don't know, it just is. And I can't explain why. Something about them feels so incredibly recognizable but also completely unorthodox at the same time. It's sort of the same feeling like when you hop into 2 Fort or Dust 2 all by yourself, you can't help but feel the emptiness and that feeling that you're being watched by someone or something. It's a lonely feeling and I can't describe it. And if you take away the music as well, it just amplifies the feeling of loneliness like no other. I think the backgrounds are beautiful naturally, but I just can't shake this feeling whenever I play Peggle. Either way, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. My fingers hurt really bad typing this 10-page document about a PopCap game. Anyways, bye bye.